Good day, everyone. This is Richard again for another edition of Learning with Rich. So for today's lesson, I'm going to teach you how to share your projects using Worksets. Okay, so I'm going to teach you how to set up your project using Worksets. Okay, so that is what I'm going to do. So about Worksets. So Worksets enable team members to simultaneously work within the same project by checking out groups of elements specific to their discipline or task. So Worksets can propagate and coordinate changes among team members. So let's say, for example, you have projects that requires you to work simultaneously. Your team members requires multiple team members to work simultaneously on that project. Okay, so much better if you activate your work set. Okay, so it will allow team members to work simultaneously within the same project. Work set is a collection of elements in a building that can be edited by a project team member. Okay, so other team members can view the elements in a work set, but they cannot edit those work sets if you do not synchronize and relinquish it. Okay, so let me just try to show you first how to set up your project using work sets. All right. So let's say, for example, I'm going to open a project. So let's say this is my project. Okay, so this is my MEP project. So what I'm going to do first is, let's say the architecture, they already finished the architectural model. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to link that architectural model to this Revit MEP project. Okay, so I'm going to set it up first, and then I'm going to activate the work sets. All right, so your model is being upgraded from 2013 to 2017. So it's because I'm opening a lower version to 2017 version. Okay, so after the project open, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select Insert tab. Okay, so from the Insert tab, I'm going to select here Link Revit. Okay, so Link Revit. So I'm going to link this model using auto origin to origin, and then I open it. Okay, so using the work sharing, team members can edit the required work sets and view the work sets that are locked for editing by other team members. Because you can also have this restriction wherein elements from a certain work set cannot be touched by your other team members. So you can also do that in work sets. Okay, so elements in a project can only be edited by one team member at a time if you own a work set that is not relinquished. Okay, so after I link the Archi model, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to check the levels of my M&E and my architecture. I'm going to check it if they are having the same level. So let's say I'm going to open SouthMech. Okay, so SouthMech, and then I'll notice that my host level, which is this 2 level, this is my host level, and then this is my link model. So I notice that my architecture has 4 levels. So I'm just going to follow the levels of my architecture. Okay, so for the level 2, so I change this. So I need to follow the Archi. So 3,800. Okay, and then after that, for me to be able to have level 3 and level roof, so I'm going to select collaborate here and select copy monitor using select link. So it copies selected elements from a link model to the host project and monitors changes to these elements. So this is very useful. So I'm going to select this. I select the link. Okay, and then I'm going to copy it. So copy level 3. So as you can see, if you zoom out, you will see that icon again, meaning that level 3 is copied and being monitored. So I select also roof. Okay, so you see it's now being monitored aside from being copied. Okay, so after that, I'm going to monitor also the levels 1 and 2 because it's not yet monitored. So I select monitor. Okay, so I select the host and then I select the link. So as you can see, again, that symbol, it's being monitored now. So that any changes that they made, for example, on the levels, so once I reload it back here on my MEP model, I will be notified about the changes. So I select here finish after copying and monitoring the levels. So I'll just arrange my level 3 and roof. So there's the copy. So this is my link model. And then these are my 4 host level. So after that, if let's say I'm now going to activate the work set. Okay, so I'll just go back to the floor plan. Okay, so I'm now going to activate the work set. So to activate the work set, so I'm going to select here from the collaborate. Okay, so in 2017, so I need to select collaborate first. And then I'm going to save the model and continue. So I save that. So I will just save it on my desktop. Okay, collaborate within your network. So okay. Okay, so after I save this, so I'm now going to activate the work sets. So work sets. So select, and then it will open the work sets dialog box. So you will see here the active work set. So if you're using AutoCAD, this is just like the current layer of your project. So work set number 1, that is the current layer. So by default, when you enable the work sharing, it will create 2 work set 1 and shared levels and grids. Okay, so you can rename this. So if the active work set, by the way, is work set 1, so all the elements that you will be creating will be under work set 1. So it's just like layer. So if your layer is door, all the elements that you will be creating will be under the layer door. So same with work set. Okay, so after that, okay, I'll just rename my work set 1. So let's say this is my ACMB. So that is my work set. So I'm going to create also, oh wait. Okay, so I accidentally changed the name. So this one should be shared levels, oh, shared levels and grids. Okay, so the work set number 1, this is what I'm going to rename. For example, this is the work set for my ACMB. So I'm going to create another work set, or in AutoCAD, you can call it layer. For example, this is for my lighting. Example, this is for the plumbing. What else? Power, telecom. Okay, and other services that you're doing on your M&E project. What else? Fire protection, ACMB, lighting. Okay, sanitary. This is just some of the basic services we are working on the M&E project. And you can also create work set which is combination of plumbing and sanitary, because some users prefer that. They want to combine the elements under the plumbing and sanitary work sets. Okay, so if you have architectural models, so you can also create work set for that. So architecture, and if you have structure, so you can select structure. Okay, if you have link architecture, so might as well put that on the architecture work set. Same with the structure. If you have structural model, just put it under the structure work set so that it would be easier for you to control the visibility of that elements. So after that, you will notice that you are the owner of these work sets. Okay, so you are the owner of the work set. So all elements that you will be creating, like for example, if you create a CMB, okay, so it will be placed, those elements that you create will be placed under your name. All right. Okay, so after that, okay, so after that, I'm going to select OK. There you go. Okay, so I just select no for this one. It's just asking me if I want to create the last work set as my active work set. So I'll just select no. Okay, so now that I have created the work set, so what we are going to do, or what I'm going to do next is, I'm going to create now the central file. Okay, so what is the central file? Central file, this is the master file of your project. Okay, so to make the work sets in a project available to all team members, you create a master project file, which is known as the central file. So central file is residing usually on our server, or most of the time, and it's advisable to save your central file to the server. Okay, so that your other team members can access that. Okay, so this central file tracks the availability of each work set. So a central file is created, okay, after you save this file. Okay, so after that, after we create the work set, so we are now going to create a central file, okay, because this is very important because it coordinates the changes made by team members and stores information about the work set ownership. Okay, it acts as the distribution point for the information about project work sets and the changes made to the building model. Okay, so let us now create a central file. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to simulate how you work on a work shared project. Okay, so let us just imagine I'm going to save this project to the server, or although I don't have server, so let's say for example my server is my desktop. So I'll be creating a folder on my desktop. Okay, so like for example, this is my server. All right, so this is my server. So I'm going to save there my central file. So that is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to save the project to the server. Okay, so let's say for example, this is my server, or this is your server. So you need to check out the options because by default, as you can see, the number of maximum backup there is 20. And you also notice this one. Make this a central model after save. It's already checked. You cannot uncheck this because the first time you save, after you activate the work set, that file will becomes automatically a central model. Alright? And another thing that you need to watch out is this one, open workset default. So instead of last viewed, so I'm just going to select here specify, so that when I open a project, it will not straight away open the project itself, but before you open the project, there is this dialog box that will appear on your screen, and it will allows you to turn off or turn on the work set that you do not want to show in that project. So by doing that, it will allows you to open the project much faster. Because if you select here, for example, the default last view, when you open the project, it will just straight away open the project. So if the project is very big, it will take time for you to open that project completely. Whereas if I'm going to select specify, I'll be able to check out and turn off the work set that I do not need yet for me to be able to open the project. Okay, so you just select here specify. Okay, so I'll just put it on the server. For example, I save the central file. Okay, for example, I'll just name it. Okay, this is my central Or for example, this is my project 1234. Okay, so this is my central file. And then I'll just save it. So there you go. So I just created a central file. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to do, if I want this project, let's say I'm the BIM manager. So I'm now going to tell my team members to work on the project. So before that, what I'm going to do next is, before I tell them to work now on the project, I'm going to synchronize and modify the settings. Okay, I'm gonna check this one. Okay, after synchronizing, relinquish the following work sets and elements. So I'm going to relinquish all the user-created work sets that I have made, so that in case I have created elements here, okay, it will be relinquished. The ownership of those elements will be relinquished, so that they will be able to modify those elements that I have created using the work sets that I have used. But if I do not want to share those elements that I have created, I do not want them to modify that, I'll just leave it unchecked. Okay, but since this is just the start of the project, okay, so I'm going to relinquish those work sets, because as you can see, if I check out the work sets here again, I'm still the owner, right? So let's say I do not want to own these work sets because I want my team to do this project, although I can also do this. Okay, I'm going to relinquish the ownership of the work set by selecting here, synchronize and modify settings. By the way, although you can work on the central file, it is not advisable to do that. Okay, it's not advisable to work on the central file. That's why what we're going to do next, later on, we're going to create a local file. Okay, but let me first synchronize and relinquish the ownership of the work sets. So I'll just check. Okay, there you go. So if I go back again to work sets, you will see that I'm not the owner anymore. So I'm now going to tell the team members that they can now start to do the modeling of the MEP on our MEP project. Okay, then since this is the central file, I'm now going to close this. So it's not advisable to work directly on the project's central file. Okay, so I'll just close that. And then this is how it looks like after you save the central file to your workset. So you will see this to your server. So this is your central file. Okay, and then you have a backup folder here. So this is the central file. So the next thing that we're going to do, so let's say for example, your team member is now ready to work on the project. So what he is going to do, or what she is going to do, she needs to create a local copy. Okay, so I'll just maximize this. So they need to create a local copy. What is a local copy? Local copy is a copy of the central file that is saved to their computer. Okay, so that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a local file. So I'm going to select here open. Let's say for example, I am now the BIM modeler. So I'm going to select here open. And then I just go to the server. For example, this is on the server. And then I select now the central file. Okay, so before you open that, okay, it's not advisable to double click. Much better if you just use open here. Okay, because you need to check. Although this is already default, check. Okay, you must check it always, because there are instances the file that you are opening is not the same version as the central file. Okay, so once you see that this create new local is unchecked, maybe the file that you are opening is higher than the file, okay, or than the version of Revit that you are using is higher than the file that you are opening. That's why this is disabled. But if you notice this is already checked, then you are using the same version. Okay, and make sure this is checked so that you'll be able to create a local copy of the central file. Because if this is unchecked, okay, this is unchecked, okay, you will be opening the central file if this is unchecked. But if you notice, this is disabled, meaning you cannot check or uncheck, like what I have said earlier, meaning to say you are not working on the same version of Revit. Okay? But if you can enable or disable the create new local, yes, you are working on the same uh, Revit program, same version. So do not uncheck this one, because if you uncheck, you will be opening the central file, which we do not want. We only want to create a local file. Okay, so I'll just select here local file. I just select open. So I will now be opening the central file. So this is what I'm talking about earlier. So if you set up your options to specify workset, before you actually open the project, you will see this opening worksets dialog box, wherein you have the power to open or close the worksets that you do not need. But in my case, I'll just let it open. Anyway, I haven't started anything yet. All right. Okay. So that's how you set up your Revit project. So first, you start a project, you link the emini, then you are now going to create a central file. So after you create the central file, you are now going to create a local file. Okay? So local files enable team members to check out the required work sets and synchronize their work back to the central file. Alright? Okay. So let's say I'm now going to add some MEP, mechanical. For example, I'm going to insert here. I'm now the BIM designer or the BIM modeler. Okay, so let's say I'm going to add here air terminals. Let's say the height is 2,100, for example. Okay, so I'm going to place here 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so after that, if I want to by the way, after you create the local file, you will see here the project name underscore the name of your computer. Okay? So the name of the project underscore name of your computer. So that is your local file. Okay? So after you do some editing in your project, like for example, I added air terminals. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to synchronize the changes. Okay, I'm going to synchronize the changes to my central file. Okay, so that the other team members can also view these changes. Okay, so to synchronize, I'll just go to the massing insight. Sorry, collaborate. Okay, this one again, synchronize and modify settings. Okay, and then after that, if there are some boxes here that you can check, okay, in my part, I would suggest you to check that. Like for example, if you notice borrowed elements is enabled, just check that so that it will be relinquished. Okay, so if there are elements that is being borrowed, after you relinquish that, your other team members will be able to modify that also. Same with the user created work set. So if you notice that there is the user created work set is enabled, you're able to check it or uncheck it. I would suggest you to check that. So that elements that you have created under the user created work sets, it will be modified also. Your other team members can be modified that those elements under the work set, these work sets. Okay, so I would suggest you to do that. But for this part, no need to check because it's already relinquished. Okay, so I'll just select OK. So that's how you synchronize and update your central file. So if you are going to open the central file, so let's say I'm now going to close my local file. I am the BIM modeler. Okay, now I'm going to be the BIM manager again. So I'm going to open the central file. So this is the server. I'm going to select this. I'm going to uncheck this to open the central file. So you will notice, you see it's already updated. So the central file is already updated. So I'll just select OK. Okay. All right, so it takes time. So we are going to check if our central file is updated. But I'm sure that it's updated. Okay, so it's updated. So once your other team members synchronize also their project, they will be able to see these changes that you have made to your project. Okay, so as you can see, it's updated, right? So this is your central file. So it's updated. So that's how you use your work set. Okay, and another thing that you need to know is make sure before you start placing elements, I forgot to tell, before you start your element, before placing your elements, before creating the model, make sure that your active work set is correct. Okay, it's just like making sure that your current layer is correct. Okay, so if you're going to do plumbing, make sure plumbing is selected. Okay, just like that, and then you can now proceed do your modeling. So that no need for you to change late on the later part of the project in case you did something wrong, because you need to select those elements that you created and then you change the work set here. For example, oh, this element should be under plumbing. Okay, so you'll be selecting those elements and then you will be changing the work set here in case there's something wrong. That's why I would advise make sure you select the active work set correctly. So if you're going to do power, so you select power. Okay, so that all the elements that you will be placing will be under the power work set. Okay, all right. Okay, so that's it. So hope you learned something from this video. If you have any questions, suggestions, or comments, you can put it on the section, on the comment section below, and then I will get back to you as soon as I can. Or you can always catch me on the Quip Spear. You can install Quip Spear on your smartphone, and then you can add me. Okay, so I have an instruction on the description below how to install the Quip Spear and how to add me. Okay, thanks you. Okay, thank you. So until then, bye bye.